is Test That Craft. Today I am testing out making pinecone flowers for a wall hanging. I've been seeing this craft all over my Pinterest feed, and I think it just looks really easy and fun, and there's some beautiful pictures out there of some of these crafts. So I'm trying it out. I'll let you know what supplies I use, where I get them, how long this takes, and how it turns out. So first off, I needed pine cones. I live in the Pacific Northwest, so that was pretty easy. There's pine cones laying all over the ground around here. I got some smaller ones right here in my condo property, and then I got larger ones at the dog park that I go to all the time. If you do have to buy some, they have some on Amazon, eBay, and there's even some on Etsy. So next I decided to put my pine cones on a board because I wanted to do a wall hanging. This one's going to be for my mom for her birthday. So I went to Home Depot because I don't have access to any type of wood here, and I was thinking that the Home Depot should have some scrap wood somewhere, and they do. They keep it on a dolly down one of their aisles. So I got 2 boards, and I had them cut them for me into the lengths I wanted, and it was less than $5. Super awesome. I also got my stain there at the Home Depot, and they had a really great beachy colored gray stain that was in a nice small can that was really all I needed for this project, and it was the perfect color. It was called Sun Bleached Premium Wood Stain by Varathane. It's 8 ounces, and I have a lot left over after staining all 4 boards, so that was a great deal. So first off, you want to stain your board so it can dry while you're working on the pine cones. I used a disposable brush because the stain that I got was oil-based, and I don't have turpentine or paint thinner to wash out the brushes, and I didn't want to buy any. So it was just $1 for a disposable brush. The stain went on really quickly and easily and in a nice uniform manner. The can says that it dries in about an hour, but it took a lot longer for my board to dry. It was at least 2 hours, but it is super humid here, so that was probably why. But anyway, while your board is drying, you can work on the pine cones. So first off, you need to cut them apart somehow. I already had a hacksaw, so that's what I'm using. The smaller pine cones that I picked up around the condo were really hard to saw into. It was like sawing through a branch of a tree. They were really difficult. Super thick in the middle. And I don't have like an electric saw or a workbench or anything, so I did end up sawing these by hand. I had to rotate them around to saw from different sides. Used the garden clippers to try to cut them through a little bit more, and then I sawed them again, and they finally came apart. Also, it probably would help and save you some time if you did have a power saw or at least a workbench where you could clamp these babies down and get some good angle on them, and probably be way easier. So I was only able to get 2 flowers out of the small ones, the tip part and the bottom part that you turn over to get that mum effect. It's really pretty. Because my saw just pretty much mangled the middle of the pine cone. If you have a better saw, you might be able to get 3 flowers out of those. The longer pine cones that I picked up at the dog park, way easier to cut through. I was able to just use the garden shears. I just got a cheap pair at Fred Meyer for about $6, and I was able to get about 5 flowers out of each one, which was really nice because I was going to use a lot of flowers on this board project. So the small ones, they're worth the effort to get that mum flower effect from the bottom of those, but the longer ones are nicer because you can get more. So once you've got your pine cones cut, you can either paint them with the color that you want straight off, or you can prime them. If you paint them with the color that you want straight off, if you're using a lighter color, you're going to have to do 2 or 3 coats. Because the brown of the pine cone is going to make it darker. So with priming, you're only going to have to do 1, maybe 2 coats of your color, and it'll be really nice and bright and much more true to the color that you want. So I primed my pine cones with an acrylic gesso, and at first I tried this pouring technique where you suspend the item that you're priming and you just pour the gesso over it, but I ended up just using a brush to paint the gesso around, and it was just as easy. And that technique didn't really work for the daisy flower style pine cones that I got from the longer pine cones. Those ones really just worked better with a brush. So then of course you have to wait. So I used 3 different types of paint to try on my Pinecone flowers. I used a tempera craft paint and 2 different types of acrylic paint, cheaper acrylic paint and then a more expensive acrylic paint. And the tempera paint is much thinner and totally takes 2 coats of paint to get the right color. The cheaper acrylic paint worked just as well as the more expensive acrylic paint. Also with the acrylic paint, you could mix your paints with the white or a black or gray to get different shades of your paint, whereas with the tempera paint it did not mix well at all. You just kept getting the same bright color over and over again. So I really liked the acrylic paints better. So when you're painting the color, you want to leave some of the middle white to represent the stamen, and you can either leave it white or you can paint it a different color like yellow or black. As you can see in the flowers behind my head on that quilt, there's all sorts of different colors you can paint the middle of flowers. But since I'm going with more of a beach theme with my wall hanging, I decided to leave the middle of my flowers white. And I'm also going to intermix them with shells on my board, so that's going to look really nice. One of the things I like the best about this project is that you can really paint these pine cones any color that you want. At the end of my video, I will show you 3 different projects I've done now with these pinecone flowers, and all 3 are completely different and using different colors. It's pretty fun. So once you get all your pine cones painted, again you have to wait. So I ate lunch and took my dog to the dog park, and it was super easy to come back and pick back up. Once your pine cones are dry, then you can start arranging them on your board. Make sure that you flip your board over though and put on your hardware to hang it first. That way you're not trying to attach it after you've got all your pine cones glued on there. It's just much easier to attach the hardware first. So do that first, then flip it over and arrange your pine cones how you want them. I intermixed mine with shells, and then I decided to do 3 bundles of flowers, and it looks really nice. One of my friends said it looks super beachy, like the flowers are waves on the beach, so that was awesome. I didn't even think of that. So then you just hot glue all of your items down, and then you're done. And it's pretty quick and easy. This project took me about 2 days because I have a dog and a cat that interrupt me frequently. Plus, when the dog needs to go out, the dog needs to go out. But it was super easy to pick back up when I had to step away. And then I let all my pine cones and my board dry overnight also. And then in the next morning, I glued it all together, which took maybe 45 minutes. Not too bad at all. So the supplies that you're going to need is a board, if that's what you want to put your pine cones on, but you could also put them in a bowl or on a frame. You could even glue them onto sticks and put them in a vase. That's super cute too. So whatever you want to make out of these pine cones. Then of course you need your pine cones and a primer and your paint, some brushes, stain if you want to stain your wood, a brush for that, and I also varnished my flowers. I used the crystal clear enamel from Rust-Oleum on that. I also liked the acrylic paints the best for these pinecone flowers. They covered very nicely and I didn't have to do more than one coat. So the skill level for this craft is definitely a beginner skill level. The hardest thing about this craft was sawing through the smaller pine cones. It just took quite a while and it was difficult with the tools that I had. However, most of you probably have way better tools than me, so hopefully that's easier for you. But staining the board and then painting the pine cones and gluing them on the board, super easy. It was also fun to do and it didn't take very long. Definitely an easy weekend project. If you want to get more involved in painting the flowers, it could take a little more time. You could do things like frost the tips, you could do an ombre effect, you could do some shadowing, but I just used one color on all my flowers and I was super happy with it. It's not a stressful project at all. Again, just really easy. Once you were at a stopping point, it was really easy to come back to it. You have to have a little bit of patience because you have to wait for your primer to dry, then you have to wait for the paint to dry. You have to make sure your board stain is dry before you start gluing onto it. But really not stressful project at all. Cost of the project, it was $4 for me for the wood off the scrap pallet at Home Depot, and they cut it into the lengths I wanted. I already had paint, but Hobby Lobby has this set of the Art Time Tempera paints for $8. I already had paintbrushes, but you can get those at Hobby Lobby also for around $7 for a nice set of different sized paintbrushes. I got the seashells at Fred Meyer for $4 for a really nice sized box, and I didn't even use half of the seashells, so I have those for another project. Pine cones, you can get the nice large ones, which are called Western White, on Etsy at Crafts for All for $1 each, and I only used 4, and I got about 15 to 20 flowers out of that. And then the small ones are called Ponderosa, and you can get a package of 10 for $5 on Etsy or Amazon. So if you're starting out and you don't have any supplies for this, it's going to cost you around 30 bucks. But if you already have your supplies and your pine cones are littering the ground like mine, then it's just going to cost you about 5 bucks for the wood panel. And if you already have pieces of wood, this project is practically free. Here are some pics from where I got my inspiration and the pictures of my finished projects. And I hope this helps you save some time and some money and have a lot of fun with this project.